Welcome to the November episode of Spread the Word! Okay, so I will go first. My book was The Butcher's Blessing. The first couple pages, it's this man named Rowan, and he is a photographer, present-day New York. He is looking at a photograph that he took in the 90s, and he's describing it. It's in a meat storehouse, and it's a man who's hung upside down.
I don't like where this is going.
He's obviously dead. And he took this photograph while he was touring Ireland, doing photography to try to get the essence of what was going on. In the 90s, Ireland was very fraught.
The Troubles.
Yes, the Troubles, yes. In the 90s, there was definitely this, this point where they were kind of diverging from old Ireland into modern Ireland. So, this man is looking at this photograph because it's his favorite photo that he's taken. He feels like it's like the peak of his career kind of thing. And so you go back in time into the 90s, and it's kind of a murder mystery too, obviously, because nobody knows what happened to this man. And you find out that he's one of 8 butchers who, in honor of the curse of the farmer's widow, every year 8 butchers go out and they go to believers' houses, the believers of this curse, and they go to their houses and they slaughter cattle in honor of this curse.
Are you gonna curse us?
And since the war had claimed all 8 of her men, she decreed henceforth no men could slaughter alone. Instead, 7 others had to be by his side to stop the memory of her grief from dying too.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so these 8 butchers go and they slaughter cattle at these houses as like a ritual type thing. And Gra, the wife of one of the 8 butchers, and Una, his daughter, they have to go through this every year. And he's gone, I want to say he's gone for like 6 months. And so before he goes, it's a very like somber affair. There's this weird dynamic there. Gra, you can tell, is bitter about this thing that he has to do every year. Una is also very, has very mixed feelings about it, but idolizes them. All of this, the butchers are kind of the scope into old Ireland. There's this cattle guy named the Bull, kind of the modern side of Ireland and cattle processing. While all of this is happening, there's also mad cow disease. They're trying to keep it out of Ireland. Throughout it all, you know that there's this photograph that's been taken, so you are just kind of waiting for that shoe to drop.
And like who it is.
This book was a surprise. It was one of those books that reminds me to go outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and I loved it. I think it's, I don't know, this story was just like super dark, super mythic. It was so full of heart, and you cared about the characters so much. Oh, the other thing, oh my gosh, guys. Also, it's pandemic lit. That is The Butcher's Blessing, and it has my blessing. I made it weird.
So, the book that comes out this month is called Rebel Rose. This is a part of the Queen's Council series. This series basically takes traditional fairy tale princesses that we all know and love. This one is Belle. It throws them into different situations, and after the fact, after the events of the story. Belle and what is his name? I always forget it.
The Beast?
Yeah, but it's
Adam?
Adam. Thank you, Adam. Belle and Adam are on their way to Paris. This is like probably some years after the curse has been broken. Basically going on their way to basically like try and make good again with the court and be like, oh hey guys, remember me? Because apparently the curse made it so that everybody in the province that he lorded over just forgot about them.
Yeah.
And then when the curse was lifted, they're like, oh hey, yeah, you guys, we remember.
That's convenient.
Yeah, very convenient, but not convenient in Versailles.
Oh yeah.
And meanwhile, they're on their way to Versailles right before the French Revolution, and they're nobles. But Belle refused to take the princess title.
Yeah.
So she's not a noble. So it's just that's where we're at. That's how it starts. They're on their way, and they're going to try to entreat themselves to the king to basically be let back into court, and before they go on their cross-European honeymoon.
Just stay home.
I know. I know. I'm just like, you guys are gonna die. How are you gonna get out of this? Poor Lumiere is talking about going and like getting drunk.
Oh yeah.
Because apparently he's a party animal.
That doesn't surprise.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, French boa.
With
That's true.
the duster.
Yep. Magic comes into play. blood magic.
That does sound really fun. Okay, so I read White Ivy, and it is a like suburban thriller. I feel like
Well, that is outside of your comfort zone.
yeah,
Like Little Fires Everywhere suburban thriller.
that is what it was compared to, and that's why I wanted to check it out because I really liked Little Fires Everywhere, and I didn't think I was going to. But it's not quite that. It's like something between that and Gone Girl, I would say. Okay, so the main character is definitely a non-likable human being. But like that's kind of the point. You're like in her psyche, sort of. So yes, Ivy. She is a first-generation Chinese immigrant. Her parents came over from China with their grandmother, and she was born in the United States. And her parents are like playing out, I think, that like very like a pretty standard immigrant story where they came over and are having to work their way through a lot of menial stuff until like when she's younger, they're pretty poor but like getting by. But she, I guess, takes in this like, you know when you're little and you like see this thing that you really want, you don't really understand why, and like that sort of like forms her whole being, and that being for her is this boy named Gideon Spire, who is like the epitome of like a white waspy male from that sort of family, and but also his whole lifestyle and like his whole family and like everything. She sees what they have and thinks it looks so nice, and she just wants like that for herself. And him. So they meet when she's in elementary school. So that is happening, and then she also has a neighbor friend named Ruth, I believe, and he is also from an immigrant family, but they're like Eastern European. They have sort of like a begrudging type friendship where they're both kind of mean to each other, but like they're still friends. Yeah, and she just kind of, I think like that's like that dichotomy that kind of plays out through the book is between this Gideon and then Rue, like sort of like where is she gonna go with her life sort of thing. So that's the first part of the book is like kind of setting up that background, and then it kind of jumps ahead a good few years. Her family moves away from that town, so she doesn't see Rue and Gideon for like 10 years. And then she ends up running into Gideon's sister. She's like, oh, you're like Ivy from blah blah blah, that sleepover that one time. And Ivy's like, oh yeah. Like, and so she ends up, the sister Sylvia invites Ivy to this party, and she re-meets Gideon, and they start dating, and like it's like, you're like, what is happening? She's like, is this really happening?
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, where she like runs into him, and then she's like, oh, I was obsessed with you, I remember now.
Yes.
And then has to like
yeah
form her whole life around him.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, but in a much darker way. So they start dating. She also re-meets Rue because he happens to be dating Sylvia. He like shows up at like a family vacation with them. Yeah, and it's kind of a shock that he's there, and she's like, fuck. And she's sort of on this path where you're like, what? Literally, it seems like her path is, how do I become a New England wasp? And like that's where she's trying to go with her life. Yeah, to like the point where she ends up just kind of just lying about a lot of stuff, like getting into some extreme debt to go on these trips. She ends up quitting teaching to go to law school because she realizes that like Gideon's really into this idea of like a lawyer as a wife. Like, not that he said that to her, but like how he interacts with this other couple they end up.
Oh my god,
that's so effed up.
Jesus Christ.
It's like all this stuff keeps happening, and you just keep being like, God, Ivy, why? She like sees how Gideon like looks at this woman, and it's like, oh, maybe I should go into law. Like, they're already dating at that point.
Maybe you should be a self-possessed, confident woman.
When you get to the end and see, I'm not saying what life she does get to.
Gotcha.
But like when you see where she gets, you're like, on the one hand, you're like, was it worth it to get here? And on the other, you're like, maybe it's exactly what she deserves. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Little town, it's a quiet village. Every day, like the one before. Little town, full of little people, waking up to say, Bonjour! 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 There goes the baker with his tray, like always. The same old bread and rolls to sell. Every morning's just the same as the morning that we came to this poor provincial town. Good morning, Belle! Good morning, monsieur! And then she ends up in the field picking the dandelion.
Oh, right, it's really unclear
how does it
she
go?
gets there.
She runs up there.
Oh
God, yeah.
Yeah, what even is happening?
Oh, how does it go? It's gonna bother me.
She like, she doesn't.
So that was Spread the Word.
And a revival of
Beauty and the Beast.
So I'm gonna let Julia tell you about Small Business Saturday.
So, the last Saturday in the month, right after Thanksgiving, is Small Business Saturday. We're going to be doing a big outdoor sale again. We're going to have lots of gift packages to help you find those Christmas presents and Hanukkah presents or whatever kind of presents you're looking for.
for yourself.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
yourself present. Yeah. That's what Small Business Saturday is. We'll have some specials going on. Don't forget, you can do free gift dropping. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I wanted more than I could tell. Oh, it might be grand to someone understand. I want so much more than they've got planned.
Minor.